So the last couple of years I've been on this serious journey of discovery, and last year I nailed one serious piece of the puzzle. A lot of that is here. It's basically that time is a construct, making us think small with terms like time is money and that you're going to retire at some point. Basically what matters isn't so much the amount of time that you put into something, but the focused effort and ability to adapt to learning along the way, and in a sense, it can be allowing for more of what unfolds. When I made this discovery, it actually can lead to the second piece of the puzzle, but I hadn't seen it right away. And the second piece is actually what we're all going through collectively. It's a worldwide identity shift. And much like in 2020, when we had the great pause, well, this is now the great identity shift. Now, some of you might have heard of identity shifting, but for those of you who haven't, here are a couple of clips to kind of get you up to speed.
Identity shifting is really about like identity connecting to that core essence that doesn't change. So it's not necessarily about like taking on these tactics and these routines and becoming this like completely new person. That's a really sexy thing to buy into. And to the degree you buy into it, I find, is where it creates a lot of dissonance because you're almost rejecting the true self. You're saying, no, shut up, get away. I need to become someone new because you're not worthy enough, you're not good enough. What I'm more of a fan of is identity shifting is more like identity shedding. And it's shedding the beliefs and stories and getting to that true core and trying to bring that version of you out more. And when you're able to do that, now there's no act. Now there's no front. And now you really put yourself out there. And when people like you, they love you.
Now, where this really gets interesting is when you follow through with the identity shift, there's no need to escape from the matrix or even to battle with the previous unconscious programming. Basically said another way, this means instead of asking who I am, you're asking, who do I want to be? On the surface, it may sound very simple, but it's a fundamental shift in the questions, at least for me. It unlocks so much because it means there's less of a need to dive into the never-ending programming. And instead, it's cutting all that away and focusing on what is in effect new programming. Now, the world is really opening up to a lot more of who we are at a fundamental level and what that means for us on an ongoing basis. And at the same time that that's happening, there's this big push for AI. And Gregg Braden really puts this together very succinctly.
When you think about this, all of a sudden it becomes really clear why a dark power would want to keep us in that fear, because we become powerless victims in that fear. And as victims, we need a savior. And technology is now being touted as our savior. Technology, computer chips in the brain, artificial intelligence, sensors under the skin, AI that knows us better than we know ourselves. We're about to give our humanness away to the technology before we even know what it means to be fully human. When you begin to understand the big picture, all of a sudden, the power of human divinity becomes something more than a casual academic peripheral conversation. It's front and center for everything that's happening in our lives today. And the beauty is you don't have to know that, but you can simply live the best version of yourself and transcend the efforts to keep us small and separate and insignificant.
As with any identity shift, you have a push and pull from the old to the new, and that's happening within the world itself. There is that same push and pull. Freedom then comes from going deep into why you are here at a spiritual level. By doing that, it releases the propaganda of why you are here according to corporations, society, governments, culture, and so on. This means letting go of the notions of retirement, working long hours, and so on. Now, a lot of this is based on your ability to go within and have what that energy does go outwards so that it's reflected inwards. Some people talk about that as the mirror principle, and you can see some of that here.
Alludes to the principle of the mirror, that our world is dual, that there is an internal world and an external one. Even in the Bible, Matthew 5:8, it said, "You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world."
Gregg Braden and others talk about the field, and it's been scientifically proven that it's there, and it does respond to us. There's been double slit experiments and so on that reflect that. So on a scientific level, it's been proven. And a spiritual level, it's definitely there within a lot of the older teachings that people are exposing more and more right now. So basically what it means is your ability to go within reveals the truth more. You're here to shift and be within your spiritual quest. And all else you experience may teach you and help you while potentially being a distraction. Now, could in some ways this mean that everyone is right? Like the flat earthers are right and the people who think it's round are right all at the same time? I don't know. I mean, there are some people who talk about different parallel realities, and maybe in a sense that would be true. I really don't know. What I do know is what you experience in your own reality is an interplay with that field, and what you reinforce is your beliefs on an ongoing basis. Basically, the world will bring to you all that aligns to your spiritual journey. And as you stray from that, you may get stronger lessons that basically bring you back. This also means that those that embrace the change in identity on who we really are at a deeper level go on to experience more of that. Meanwhile, those that are basically locked into the programming brought on by a few to control the many will continue to experience more of that. Obviously, the question then becomes, how can that even be possible? Basically, it's because we have free will and we get to decide. And right now, so many people think they don't. They think that the elite are too powerful and there's nothing we can do and we are too helpless and powerless to stop them. And this is actually exactly what they want us to think. It's part of the programming, to think we are limited to this physical world, and since they control the money, resources, what we want, and are being tracked, that all that is going to mean they are calling the shots. And the only way we get to live is by following their plan, jacking into AI so you get ahead, and the more you follow, the more successful you will be. Yet the opposite is actually true. We actually have the power, and it's all around us, and it's what we decide to do moment by moment. Since we've been conditioned to follow their plan, we think it's by our own free will and our own choice. It feels that way. It feels like, oh, I'm making choices all the time. Obviously, I have free will, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't want to. All the unconscious programming makes up 90% of what we actually do, and that comes from early childhood on. Yet when we tap into our spiritual journey in the field of who we are, then our true choice becomes available, and we get to live in a whole different world, even while the rest who haven't waken up to their true choice, their true identity, continue to be manipulated and controlled or harnessed for their energy and soul power. So we are in what could be called the great identity shift. And by embracing this on an individual level and going deeply into what our soul purpose is, and then asking, who do we want to be from that intuitive side? We are also supporting the overall larger identity shift. So the key is to embrace your own identity shift and be who you are at a deeper level, rather than the one given to you at birth. And the whole thing of it is, while we may take from experiences that help us in our larger journey, it's now when we need to make a conscious choice to be fully aligned with deeper truths. In order to turn off ads, I'm hoping that you'll support the channel by checking out the links down below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.